NFL Week 3 recap. Leave a like, subscribe, and let's get into it. We may have missed out on some Hawks vs. Tua on Sunday, which is a shame because the Dolphins' offense was inept. Skylar Thompson was bad and got injured, and Tim Boyle came in and was not much better. To put it bluntly, the Dolphins were ass. Their season is not looking too promising right now. Lions at Cardinals was pretty much decided by two separate plays. First, it was a play right at the 2-minute warning that looked like a pick six by Mack Wilson. But of course, like NFL referees like to do, they ruined the moment. They said that the 2-minute warning had passed before the snap, which after further review, that was not true. So the Cardinals essentially got screwed out of 7 points. And to make it worse, later on this drive, the other big play of this game, the Lions ran this nifty play, the hook and ladder, where Amon-Ra St. Brown caught a crosser, he then lateraled to Jahmyr Gibbs, and he took it about 20 yards for a touchdown. After a great week last week, Kyler Murray did not look so good. It wouldn't be another Kansas City Chiefs win without a controversial call from the referees. On 3rd and 5 on Kansas City's 6-yard line, there looked to be some real pass interference with Kyle Pitts. Unfortunately for Atlanta, nothing was called. In fairness, on the Falcons' next drive, a couple of penalties went against Kansas City, and Atlanta on a 4th and 1 shot themselves in the foot by calling this ridiculous handoff to the left that Nick Bolton blew up from the start. The Chiefs get a big 4th down stop and they stay undefeated. Before getting into Andy Dalton, I want to go over this funny quote from Antonio Pierce. And it wasn't meant to be funny either, but when you go back and watch this play, you can tell what he's talking about. Here's what Pierce said about the effort level on the Raiders defense.
I think there was definitely some individuals that made business decisions. And we'll make business decisions going forward as well.
And then as the film came out today, watch Jack Jones, the former Patriot, on this play. I have a funny feeling he's the guy that Antonio Pierce was calling out. As for Andy Dalton, I guess he still got it. 26 of 37, 319 yards, 3 touchdown passes. The Panthers get their first win of the year, and obviously, Dalton will be the starter next week as well. In Indianapolis, Caleb Williams and Anthony Richardson were having a mid-off. Each quarterback threw 2 interceptions, some worse than others. Which reminds me, let's get to this Anthony Richardson interception. It was almost as bad as that Mac Jones won against the Colts last year overseas, and maybe it's worse, honestly. Richardson only completed 10 of his 20 attempts, and for Caleb, he threw the ball 52 total times. It was like the Colts were begging to lose this game, but the Bears couldn't take it. Both teams are now 1-2. After looking like possibly the worst team in football the first 2 weeks, the Denver Broncos got a much-needed victory in Tampa Bay. And it wasn't just a victory, they beat the crap out of them. Bo Nix did not throw a touchdown pass, but he still looked good. He also ran the ball 9 times for 47 yards and a rushing touchdown. If you want to see a man get his ankles broken, look at Anthony Nelson right here. A one-on-one shot with Jaleel McLaughlin on 4th and goal. Looked like he had the angle, but made Nelson look like a sumo wrestler trying to catch a squirrel. For Tampa, hopefully that was just a fluke and they weren't ready to play. But either way, pretty inexcusable. Browns versus Giants was a matchup of which quarterback looks less broken. And coming away from this, Deshaun Watson looks more broken by a mile. Watson was sacked 8 times and credited with 2 fumbles. Although I think it should have been 1, honestly. On the other side, Malik Neighbors may be a top 5 wide receiver already. This was his toughest matchup yet, had 8 catches for 78 yards, 2 touchdowns, and some crazy catches including this one on the sideline, just mossing Martin Emerson, and then this touchdown right after. The Patriots, who looked like a fun and feisty team the first 2 weeks, looked pretty dead on Thursday Night Football. Jacoby Brissett was sacked 5 times, Drake May made his debut and was sacked twice in garbage time, but more importantly, Aaron Rodgers actually looked very good. 27 of 35, 281 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. The Jets defense, even without CJ Mosley, looked great, and as long as Rodgers stays healthy, which so far he has, this team may go places. In week 1, Sam Darnold beat the Giants, but that was just the Giants. In week 2, they beat the San Francisco 49ers. But okay, the Niners had some injuries. In week 3, they faced a relatively healthy Texans team and destroyed them 34-7. It's time to put some respect on Sam Darnold's name. He only had 181 passing yards, but 4 touchdowns and no turnovers. There was a bit of an injury scare, but he's fine. Stroud had 2 INTs and the Vikings dominated. They honestly might be one of the better teams in the NFC, especially with San Francisco and Philly, teams like that being so injured. Who would have thought? I guess the Raiders were not the only team where you should question their effort level. Nick Bosa and more so Javon Hargrave had a rough rep here. The Rams, who were 0-2, got a much needed victory on a Joshua Carty last-second field goal. The Niners, of course, had plenty of injuries injuries on their own side, and now Hargrave's out for the year, but the Rams arguably are more banged up. Both teams are also now 1-2. So far, the Saquon Barkley signing is looking like way more than just a luxury signing. Without him, I don't even know if the Eagles would have a win right now. Barkley had a massive game and finally put the Eagles on the scoreboard in the early fourth quarter with a 65-yard touchdown run. He later scored again, making it 15-12. Derek Carr's magic ran out as Reed Blankenship intercepted him to end the game. Philly's top 2 wide receivers are hurt, and for Jalen Hurts, he's turning the ball over way too much. Malik Willis may have downplayed the revenge game narrative, but he didn't play like it. Willis had a passer rating over 120 and ran for 73 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Will Levis once again looked pretty horrific, including a pick 6 to Jair Alexander, and he was sacked 8 times. Somehow, someway, without Jordan Love, the Packers found a way to go 2-0, and there's a chance they can get him back next week. The result of the Ravens-Cowboys matchup is so funny, considering that the Cowboys had a real shot to sign Derrick Henry in the offseason.
Watching Derrick Henry do what he did, it didn't make you rethink your approach to the run game?
We couldn't afford that.
And Derrick Henry took that personally. 151 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, and a 23-yard reception. Dallas did make a late comeback, but it came up just a bit short. The Ravens get their first win of the year, and Dallas falls to 1-2. The first of the Monday night doubleheader gave us an absolute blowout in Buffalo. This one was over at halftime as the Bills had a 34-3 lead heading to the locker room, and Josh Allen had 4 touchdown passes in the first half. For Trevor Lawrence, he looks rattled. Another awful game, and Mac Jones came in and did not look much better. Could Peterson be the first coach fired? We shall see. In the final game, Jaden Daniels had his coming out party. He had more touchdowns on the night than incompletions, and on his final throw of the game, he took a big hit but laid out a perfect deep ball to Terry McLaurin for a 27-yard touchdown. The Bengals' offense was not that bad, but their defense was pretty terrible. Cincinnati drops to 0-3. That'll do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe if you did, and I'll talk to you guys next time.